The opinions, views, and conclusions expressed in this show are those of the show host and co-host and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of KPFV FM or its affiliates.
Nevada Republic, a show of history that is not taught in schools nowadays. Tune in and learn the true history of the Republic. Now here is your host.
OCO Toy2. Hello, how are you? Welcome to the Real American Law, and I hope we've got the proper backdrop right now, because I don't see it on the monitor. But anyway, this is Real American Law brought to you by the Nevada Republic Network. Oh, there it is. As you can see, that's the Nevada Republic. One of these days, we'll have funds to build those flags. But welcome to the 1st of July, the year of our Lord, 2025. I'm your host, Gary Wayne, and also your divine teacher. And tonight I have Miss Courtney.
Hi.
Now, if you want to use your middle name, that's fine. We just don't use last name.
Okay.
Okay. So yes, I got you, Frank. So we're going to talk about why we shouldn't be really even celebrating next year the 250th anniversary. And we're going to cover a few subjects. Once you know there's a network out there, you just find them on Facebook. I believe it's called Exposing Nye County. Anyway, they're looking for funds, and I'll give you more information about it when I get the information. But they're going to put up a nice billboard talking about the Nye County cartel and its corruption. So, anything you'd like to say, Courtney?
I don't know a lot about the Nye County corruption.
Well, tell the guys what you do. Tell the people, the audience.
Well, I'm actually a full-time RVer, and I basically walked away from my life about 3 years ago. Got into my RV, and
Better life.
I had a whole spiritual awakening that just made me look at everything differently. So I'm recreating my life. I have 6 YouTube channels, and I met you while we were
at Colonel's waiting.
While we were waiting for some chicken, and I was doing Uber Eats, and I thought it was interesting to talk to you, and I like free thinkers.
I talk to everybody. My wife hates it.
Well, I do like and appreciate free thinkers, and I knew that you were. So I wanted to hear what I could learn from you, actually.
Well, evidently, from up above, they like the way I talk.
Yeah.
So the word was, they made me a teacher. I said, okay. Did I get to use the word divine? They said, yes, more than we'd love for you to put divine teacher.
I love that.
So that's my deal. We're all spiritual. We have a spiritual person. Right now, she's back in Georgia for a little bit. But everybody, all of us here in this group is very spiritually.
Yeah.
So we talk about that. We talk about how the modern churches today are actually, they're all corporations. So they're all, and they have to have a credit check and a background check from the county sheriff's office, which I think that's not required by God.
Mm-hmm.
So they're all, to me, they're churches of the other side,
right?
Satan.
Yeah.
So I have no need for them. If you look at the charismatic movement over the years, they kind of verified that, how they were, nothing but money. Just like we talk about the only 2 courts are the common law court of justice, which is in the state constitution, and the court of heaven. And if you look up Court of Heaven on Facebook or YouTube, you'll see there's a lot of charismatic people jumping into that to try to make money.
Mm-hmm.
They're destroying it. But we have a Church of Heaven up in northern Nevada. I talked to the people. And so right now, the only 2 lawful courts are the Common Law Court of Justice and Court of Heaven. A few years back, I had a nice dream that all courts in America lost their right to contract with heaven or to preside over mankind. They can no longer do that.
Mm.
So don't go to church when any of these courts are. Well, they're all corporate churches too.
Yeah, of course.
So with that, I'm going to do a little basic thing here to remind you that it is known that a lot of corruption takes place in the county of Nye, state of Nevada. Now, state of Nevada is a corporation. Remember that. And it was brought in under executive order by the corporate president, Abraham Lincoln, the dictator and traitor to America. So why are people held accountable? Why are requests for documents ignored? Because they don't have to answer to anything. They're corporate. They don't work for the people. Just like the district attorney for the state of Nevada says he don't represent the people. He represents the corporation. So we're going to take that up with Pam Bondi regarding the fact we're not being represented. He took an oath of office. He's violating that oath. So we're hoping that the state attorney general will step in and the FBI will come over and help us on this deal. They've been working with us unofficially, and they know we know some things. So people have tried to expose what has been taking place, and they get like Anthony Greco. People that live around here have heard of his name and what they did to him. And when we finally get his paperwork, they're trying to stop us on the paperwork, but he's looking at a judgment of $2.2 trillion.
Wow.
For what they did to him. And that's under following the guideline. People don't know. I tell them it's a $1.8 million a day for every 24 hours you are unlawfully detained or locked up, especially if they don't read you your rights. And there's other U.S. code now. Remember, I've told you, legal is corporate. Corporate is statutes, codes, regulations. It's not law. If it was law, we wouldn't have the NRS 1.030 that says the common law of England is the state law. So when they come up and say, well, you're in violation of NRS so-and-so, well, wait a minute, you're infringing on my right under the common law. So that's null and void. Sorry, you can't do nothing. Strictly, especially when the Supreme Court has ruled you have the right to travel. So common law and the U.S. Constitution have the same basic protections. If it conflicts with either one of them, they're null and void. They don't mean nothing. So it's thrown out. Of course, we got judges that don't care about it. Just like the judges here that you heard about the drug court money. Yes, no?
No.
The drug court they had here? I guess it's still kind of, but they were getting federal grants.
Okay.
And to help people that were on drugs and stuff like that, they were in the courts. Well, somehow it became an ATM for a couple of district judges.
Well, I'm not surprised.
The court bank manager and I believe the county court clerk all were taking this. And one of the judges says, well, I paid it back. I'm sorry. How much did you actually take? Because we haven't had an audit on it yet. But we know you took it and you paid it back. It doesn't matter if you pay it back. It's not a lending institute. That's a major felony.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't be on the bench. In fact, we're going back, I think, to 2006 or 8, I think it is, that this judge has still been sentencing people, that all those cases will have to be overturned.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we're trying to get people to step up. People are scared to death.
Yeah.
Well, when you got God protecting you and his archangels, army, Michael's army, you shouldn't be worried about it.
They shouldn't, but they're very programmed and they're very scared.
That's it. That's like I've been telling people about the proper flag. 1799, John Adams and his Secretary of Treasury decided the government needed its own flag for the civilian government. Because the flag that we fly now is a battle flag since the American Revolution. So in 1799, they come up with a new flag. It has vertical stripes, white background, white field, with blue stars. That represents the civilian government. When you fly the battle flag, which has been flying since basically the Civil War, it means we're under martial law. Every corporate state's a territory. And or a declaration of war. In fact, the president of the corporation, and like here it says here in the Act of 1871, District of Columbia became a sovereign foreign enclave, and the Supreme Court verified that. So Trump only has a legal jurisdiction within the District of Columbia and its territories it acquired, like during the Spanish-American War, Japan's war, because that was the corporation fighting that war. So that's the only jurisdiction outside the District of Columbia. He's going to say he has somewhat of a jurisdiction, but it's illegal. Because what they did after the Civil War, they forced every state, when they came back in the Union, to accept the new Constitution, which was a corporate constitution, and recognize that they were a British Commonwealth nation. Because Queen Victoria was the CEO of a corporation. In fact, I'm hoping to have an interview. I've been doing a little communication with the Royal Governor of America. Now, you know what his position is, right?
What?
Well, he more or less, if Trump gets out of line, he represents the crown. So he said, all right, back up a little bit. Now, you know we have somebody living here in this country that's royal, right? And remember, Trump said he was going to kick him out of the country?
Yeah.
Why do you think that hasn't happened?
He can't.
Right? And why?
Because of the Queen's law?
Well, because he's the royal governor.
Oh, right.
So I'm waiting for him to have a conference with me on the show. And we're going to talk about that. Now, where his title is and what's really going on in this country.
Interesting.
But he says he did tell me he was the royal governor. He did say we are a Commonwealth nation. But it's going to have to be, I want people to hear it. So, and before Trump left office, he was appointed the supreme commander of all the Commonwealth military. He's the top dog. So even though he was not the president no more, he was still the supreme commander of the Queen's Commonwealth military. Remember, at the time it was Queen Elizabeth.
Right.
Second, excuse me. So that's what people don't understand. He controls Canada, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, the Scottish, the Welsh, Ireland. I mean, whoever else. I think India is still part of the Commonwealth. So he controls over all that military. So when people want to go to war with the United States, they're just not going to war against the United States of America Corporation. They're going against the war, going against all the British Commonwealth nations. So if NATO would have said no in protecting us, if Iran came, well, he would have just declared war with using the Commonwealth military and went against Iran and wiped them out. They find it's hard to believe.
Yeah.
And like, for instance, you can go to the Indian history. I don't know what it was, but they have a lot of, they got a page and they'll tell you all about how they've been under British rule all this time. And they'll show you what is the forerunner for the American battle flag, minus the 13 stars. What it has, instead of the 13 stars, it has the 3 T's or crosses, the East Indian Trading Company. That's what we've been in the center.
Interesting. So
when Washington took that battle flag, he did it praised Queen Elizabeth.
Hmm.
And the reason why? He's a royal blood. He's from the Dutch, the king of Orange. They were in the royal line, which is German, Dutch, whatever. But they needed another king and queen. So they went to Holland and they invited the prince and princess to come over and be the king of England, king and queen of England. So he's from that line. So anyway, that was the flag for Queen Elizabeth I. And they flew it on all her ships.
Hmm.
That she, they had personal ships for her.
Right.
So, but India talks about that. They show the flag. I got a picture somewhere. And I said, anything is kind of funny that flag, and also it flies in Malaysia. It was part of the East Indian Trading Company one time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if you look at the Malaysia flag,
Hmm.
they have, I think, a crescent moon in there. They're the 3 T's, but
Yeah.
everything else is the same. So anybody that used that type of flag, they were part of the East Indian Trading Company.
See.
So what we're doing, everybody's flying a battle flag because they don't want to pay attention to the truth. So when you fly that battle flag and you pledge allegiance to it, you're pledging allegiance to a foreign corporation that's illegally ruling this country as a
Right.
corporation. And why do I say that illegally? Because the Clearfield Doctrine in 1942, which was a Supreme Court ruling, says corporations are not governments, governments are not corporations. Yet, the District of Columbia is a foreign corporation. That's actually what is considered the United States of America, is the District of Columbia. And every franchise of these states have an office at the same address. They all have an office for all the 50 corporations, states,
Hmm.
in District of Columbia. And that's where they operate out of. Not Carson City
Right.
district. So that kind of verifies that. It has everything. So anyway, in 1861, March 27th, 1861. You ever read about what happened? Why we supposedly had a civil war?
No, I don't know why.
Okay, well,
Well,
let's go back.
I do know why. It's slavery in the North and South, and the
Okay,
Civil
so
War.
let's go back to the Treaty of Paris.
Right.
That was the time when England, France, and the United States, States of America, that's the
Mhm.
proper name, signed a peace treaty.
Okay.
Now they pointed out, and this was the first peace treaty that the land of the East Indian Trading Company and all the other companies involved in the 13 colonies did not sign over the land.
Hmm.
So they gave us freedom, but made us the caretakers of their land. And that was in the North Carolina Constitution. They made sure they put in the Constitution about that. So basically, North Carolina says, wait a minute, you want to cut back our slavery. You don't want us to be independent republic, like the Articles of Confederation says, our first Constitution.
Hmm.
We're all supposed to be independent sovereign republics in a confederation. And it was called the States of America. So they got hold of the other southern states. So why should we be paying taxes to the crown anymore for the land we've been sweating over all
Right.
these years? So that's why the first 6 southern states pulled away. Now, they didn't declare war. They just pulled away and did what the Articles of Confederation allowed them to do. They had the right to leave at any time. So they formed their own confederation there. And they used a lot of the Articles of Confederation. But slavery was already stopped in the British colonies. So the Queen was going to stop it there in America. So we're not going to have slavery no more.
Hmm.
So people don't understand. It was going to be abolished anyway. It didn't matter. So
But we still have slavery. Like it's all
yeah, but that's
slavery.
slavery, yes. Well, yeah, we're all slaves.
We're all slaves to,
to
the
the crown.
parasitic class. Yeah.
We're slaves of the crown, the English crown. And I just saw that where millions of dollars are being upheld. The new King Charles III he hasn't been paid yet. And he's getting a
Mhm.
little pissed about it. That's a lot of money. But that's because they own these countries
Yeah.
through the East Indian Trading Company. He's the top shareholder, we want to call it. But so that's what it was all about. So we had the first revolution, which we didn't gain nothing out of. And I call it a false flag because who won out of that deal was the arms industry, ship industries,
Mhm.
and the East Indian Trading Company because they had the military. All the officers came out of the East Indian Trading Company's military academy. They weren't regular British officers. So it was a contract deal, just like they had the military in India and Africa were all from the East Indian Trading Company. They weren't really regular British soldiers. So they all made money. And they said, all right, so we got a new way to have this country that we got here managed. But it's going to be done as a Commonwealth nation. We were the first. And then we got the War of 1812. That was the second revolution. And what happened on the second revolution that caused all that? Got any idea? Everybody says British were stealing sailors off our ships. Well, technically they were British ships, but anyway, what the whole deal was, founding fathers, when they did the Constitution, they put down there no members of nobility will work for the government, will hold a government position. Do you know what an esquire is?
Like an attorney?
You know, as a title of nobility? It's a one position under knighthood.
Really?
So England wanted to maintain control. So they figured, well, we'll have our attorneys in the government because
Mhm.
what's the Bar Association? You know what the BAR stands for?
I do not.
British Accreditation Registry.
Ain't that something?
And the bar is in every British Commonwealth nation.
Really?
Yeah. Every British Commonwealth nation. I communicate with other countries and we talk about this stuff. So, yes. So you got a British attorney
Mhm.
that's going to be in your government? Well, technically our government, well, no. It ain't going to happen. So that's what we went to war about. And that's why they burned down the White House. No, well, you got to do what we tell you. So that was the second revolution. What was the third revolution? Lincoln decided he was not going to recognize the independent southern states. That, as far as he cared, they were still part of the North. Well, he didn't have that right to do under the Republic. But what happened, they adjourned Congress and Senate, but they didn't set a reconvening date. So under international law, on March 27th, 1861, the government was dissolved. So now the Queen had the way she wanted it. There was no longer so-called government of the colonies. So her and Lincoln worked together. She was a CEO and he was going to be the president. It was called the United States of America Incorporated, a Scottish Crown corporation. You'll see that most corporations in England are done in Scotland because of the tax advantages. So it was a part of the Crown. So every president since then has been a servant or subject of the Crown.
Mhm.
So Trump, I mean, he's doing a good job, but he ain't telling the truth.
Right.
So, I mean, and Congress ain't telling the truth because Congress became a corporate Congress. Their Constitution was a corporate Constitution. It doesn't apply to anybody outside the District of Columbia. Remember all those people that got locked up January 6th?
Mhm.
They didn't get out. They couldn't use. They say they were going to sue them under a violation of the Constitution. Can't do it. They weren't citizens of that corporation. They belonged to what was supposed to be the lawful states. And under the Articles of Confederation, every lawful state has control of the citizens. But none of the states became lawful after the Civil War because it became corporations. Even the tribes became corporations. So they're not sovereign tribes no more. They're corporations.
Interesting.
They kind of blackmailed them. So you want to have a casino? Set up a corporation.
Yeah.
So, and that's why, like all the Indian wars in the last 1800s,
Yeah.
because the corporation did not recognize the treaties. They weren't corporate treaties. And treaties went to contracts. In fact, it has the Indian Act of 1871 explains all that. And Canada had a similar deal in 1876. They followed suit what we did here.
Mm-hmm.
So they're in the world mixed. It's all messed up. So anyway, that's what happened. 1861, and I would say it was finalized in April, because they had that all planned.
Mm-hmm.
She had it all worked out. So we became a corporation. They took the battle flag because they're no longer a civilian government no more. It's a corporate government. And then you see the battle flag with the gold fringe. Now that flag, that gold fringe means it's the captured corporate flag. So that flag is the flag of the Queen or the royal family. The crown will be Charles now.
Mm-hmm.
So when they show that, they're telling you with that gold fringe, this ain't America. This is a corporate flag. If you look, in 1959, Eisenhower, he really made that flag more official by making it the flag of the U.S. Army. Well, they're a British Commonwealth Army, so the Army carried the flag like that. Because, hey, they're fighting for the Queen or the King. And also, he put it in all the courtrooms. What happens when you put that flag in a courtroom?
What?
You have admiralty law, no longer constitutional law. And all the things become legal, not constitutional. So you follow legal regulation, legal codes, legal statutes. You have no constitutional rights no more. Now, if you're an educator enough, you can go in that court and say, all right, state constitution says this will be a common law court. So either leave or run it as a common law court.
Mm-hmm.
No, they have to do that. They have no authority. The only authority they have is by the bailiff with the guns. And the bailiffs are supposed to be protecting the defendants, not the judges or the court. They're supposed to be protecting your constitutional rights. Well, we haven't had any rights in court since 1959.
Yeah.
Thanks to President Eisenhower. So there's a lot to it. And you go into county commissioners, and they fly it, the gold fringe flag, and they'll show it. You'll see a fringe on the state flags. That means it's a corporate flag too. And like I told the county commissioner, I said, do you know you're a corporation? No, I don't know that.
Yeah.
I said, man, you better look it up. It said it's listed as a corporation. I said, even the sheriff and the DA's office is listed as a corporation. Even the collection department for the DA's office is a corporation. So have you read the Supreme Court ruling on that? What do you mean? I said, 1942, Clearfield Doctrine. Corporations are not governments, and governments are not corporations. And your corporate employees, including you, have no immunity. You can't yell immunity. You can be sued in a civil court for violating the law.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I said, all those listings you had about a month ago in the paper, people that had past due taxes, they listed their name in all capital letters. That's a corporate entity. It's not the person, living person. I said, what makes it worse is that on April 11th, it became law, and you just committed a felony with all those people there. I said, you might want to retract that article and, apologize and hope you don't get sued, because that'd be a big class action suit, because it's a felony. It's considered an attempt to defraud. It's a RICO Act. So, look, man, even the DA, I guess I saw him going to the computer. But it's a major deal now.
Yeah.
So, I was even telling the bank manager, you guys better change your policies here, because that's a felony you're committing here. And but nobody pays attention. And who's the biggest committer of the felony now? The state of Nevada's Department of Motor Vehicles. Remember your driver's license?
Mm-hmm.
That is not you, remember?
Yeah.
When you was born, you have birth certificate and you have a record of live birth. That record of live birth is the all capital name with, hopefully they got your afterbirth. They usually take a little simple part of it and they file it away. They just made a human. They're saying that afterbirth is that person. So they have the copyright of that all capital name. And Nevada has to pay royalties to that state that controls it. So little. And if you look up the definition of driver, it's somebody that drives commercially. So they're committing a fraud to begin with, because they're telling you you're getting a driver's license. Well, I'm sorry, I don't drive for wages or anything. I drive my own personal car and my wife. I'm not a commercial driver.
Right.
I'm a traveler, as the Supreme Court has ruled, numerous, and even state. In fact, even Nevada's ruled that now, and they ruled about the corporation. So states don't verify that Supreme Court ruling until they get shut down. So they got hit 2 years ago, went to the Supreme Court. And we also like to use the case that was done in North Carolina, 2011. Trucker went through a scales, took to the Supreme Court, and we got a copy of the letter they sent out to all their employees that they better take all their belongings out of their name or into a trust, transfer it to somebody else's name. You're going to have to get your own bonding now. We will not pay for any of your bonding or insurance.
Really?
Because you're a private entity working for a private company, which is the state of North Carolina Corporation. So lost that. But every state, they wait until they have to do it because it's a money maker.
Well, I mean, the hope is that we all continue to keep our heads down and be obedient, slaves to the system, and basically don't think. And then when you do think, you start going down those rabbit holes, then it's like this separation from, I call them smooth brains. There's a separation from the smooth brains from the free thinkers.
Yeah.
And I don't know a lot about what you're talking about, but I know that you do. No, I mean, I know that you do because you've researched it like I've researched.
I've been in since 77.
Yeah.
I'm a pipe fitter, steam fitter welder. And I was working at San Onofre Nuclear Powerhouse, and we were busing. We had buses from where we lived in San Diego County going to the job site with San Clemente. And the guy riding next to me was a John Bircher. And he gave me this paperback. He said, Gary, you should read this. It's called None Dare Call It a Conspiracy by Gary Allen. I read that thing 4 times. I said, what the hell?
Yeah.
And what I did at that time, you can look up the Trilateral Commission now on the computers. But at that time, in 77, I wrote to their San Francisco office. They had 2 offices or 3 offices in America. I wrote to the San Francisco office, sent me back a nice envelope, all this information on it. And what really I found interesting was the board of directors through a 2-year term at that time. And their whole purpose is to control America.
Yeah.
There was politicians, corporate bosses, generals and admirals, and big union bigwigs. In fact, the head of the AFL-CIO, Lane Kirkland, and my president of our union, George Meany, were on the board at the same time. I said, that's it. I'm no longer a Democrat. I went to Republican. And then later on, well, there ain't no difference.
Yeah. Same bird.
Yeah, because, when you go down there and vote, and they want you to show your driver's license, well, that's not me. That's committing voter fraud. It's like, God, first I went to the Independent Party, went from vice chair to chairman, and then it was a family-run deal, and I said, she ain't running this right, because I was hoping to expose this stuff, so I got out of it, went somewhere, independent, basically. And it's unbelievable. People won't listen to anything. And I was selling those things at 25 cents. They couldn't afford a quarter. Here, take it.
Yeah.
It was so cheap to buy at the time.
They don't want to be out of their comfort zone, and that's what's terrifying, is because everything is designed to program you and keep you ignorant and unconscious. And it's not that people are scared, but they're also, they have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's many subjects like that. So
and like the reason they did direct deposit, so people wouldn't see the all capital name. Never pay attention. So I asked people, do you get a check or direct deposit? Then you don't know how the check's made out.
Yeah.
So you don't have to pay taxes on that, corporate tax. That name does, which belongs to whatever state you was born. Heck yeah, send a bill to them. They have that name. Let them pay that. So people just, everybody's in a fantasy land. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay. It is. They are in a fantasy land, but the system's designed to keep them that way. That's what sucks.
That's like, I do the comparison now. I said, right, there's hundreds of thousands of us here that are saying that we volunteered to come back to Earth.
Hmm.
And we're finally waking up. Take me a few years, but I've been waking up. And like I said, what's happening now, what we're trying to do is wake you up the same way Noah trying to wake up the people when he was building the ark.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't wake up now and change things, you're going to sink.
Yeah.
And I don't know how he's going to do it yet. Bye-bye. I'll just come back at another time. I mean, this ain't my first trip here. I know that.
Same.
I mean, I know two of the different ways I was here, but I know I've been here more than that. But I was made aware of my life in two different times.
Yeah.
But I know because the way I know about certain things, and I was during that period too.
Yeah, I had similar experiences.
Yeah.
Like
So
to that,
we're all children of the light, you might say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and people are thinking just Earth. No, man, there's so much out there. It's unbelievable. So, what would you like to say?
Well, I've done a lot of research into consciousness, actually, and being on my journey, you just go down so many rabbit holes, and one of them was just like, I started with a medical thing, and then I started researching medical, and what Rockefeller did to medicine, and before 1910, he had doctors came to houses, they had medical bags, all built from plants and all sorts of things that the earth provided for us. And then he smeared the medicine because he realized he could use his oil. He could dominate medicine in the same way that he used to dominate oil.
You know about the cancer cure from Canada?
I do not know about that, but I know that
this one nurse was working on one of the reservations up there.
Uh-huh.
I forgot which. I think it was the Cree Indians, but anyway, they were using this, and she couldn't believe it. And she got hold of the Canadian government, and they ran some tests, found out it was true.
Yeah.
So that's the only natural remedy I know of, and you can buy the stuff that cures cancer.
Yeah.
Now there's a couple other things that will allow, and I wish I would have known about it sooner. I would have saved my mom's life because she died from cancer, lung cancer. So, but
yeah, I did a little bit of research. It hasn't been recently, but I remember reading something like, basically, it's unlawful to treat cancer any other way other than the 4 acceptable ways. Well, it's,
money.
Yeah, so people are literally dying because it doesn't fit into the dynamics of, Western medicine. So, like, once you start looking into, like, that Western medicine, then you realize that it's basically the same conquer and smear campaign in all of the industries. It happened in oil, and then it happened in medicine, and then it just trickled down to everything. And all we really are is little, energetic cogs in somebody else's wheel until we start brightening up. And the power really is connecting. I don't know what you're talking about, but now I know somebody who does, and I know a whole bunch of stuff too. And there's a lot of us awakened beings that need to connect, because a lot of people like us are stigmatized and we're weird because we're not a smooth brain. We think of our own, we go down our rabbit holes, and that's exactly what we were supposed to do from the get-go before we were
Hmm.
homogenized and made into one. You have people that don't want to get out of the box because it's really scary, but the box is like the real world, and it's good to know all of this stuff because what happens to people who start exiting the system is they become stigmatized and they become targeted. They literally become targeted because you're shaking the waters, and that's why, like, the free thinkers of the world need to like unite,
They're still I mean, they're still scared. I mean,
Yeah.
we've been advertising. We need we're all volunteers right now,
Right.
but we became legal in 2016. In fact, that flag has been seen around the world.
Very
And
cool.
when we had a harvest festival a year or two ago, Kennedy's campaign manager, was manning a booth because the one that was supposed to do it couldn't make it that day, so she came over and we was talking. And I was telling her about how the state. She said, "I kind of heard about it." And I said, "We even got a real nice flag, guys. Seen your flag." She says, "I like it."
Yeah.
Yeah, she says. I said, "Where'd you see it at?" "In Turkey."
Really?
"Oh yeah." I said, I socialize with people in Turkey. I said, "We're chemtrail buddies."
Uh-huh.
And I'm telling, like, even in England, I tell you guys, you got to wise up. You got the common law. Form a common law republic and a private membership deal like Scotland, Wales, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And forget this nonsense and set up your own laws and kick out all those immigrants that you're having the problems with right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, take over your government. And they got worse problems with cops than we do.
Yeah.
Even Australia does. And I'm watching Australia, man. It's the same thing that we go through. It's like everybody's being taught the same within the British Commonwealth
Right.
regarding the military. I mean, even the Canadian cops are the same way.
Rockefeller wanted a nation of obedient workers, didn't want thinkers, and his money and power is still doing that to today. It was like Rockefeller, Henry Ford, all of the big people, all of the parasitic class. That's what they wanted. There was so much programming into like the American dream.
Well, this is like we talked about. You can set up your own currency as long as you don't call it Federal Reserve notes or U.S. dollars.
Mm-hmm.
But you can start a barter currency. There's counties on the East Coast that have barter systems.
Yeah, I've seen some YouTubes of people that do that.
There's one outfit that's out of England. It's a big bank, and they got it set up, and you get points, this and that. They got a card you use, and it's all works real good. Because how can you have inflation when you're using an IOU to discharge a debt from a private bank? Where does it get its right to go up in value? It should still be the same as it was back then.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason for it to change. That's just the government, like I said, it's another form of taxation. Well, why do we need a taxation to begin with? Print more of your worthless paper.
Right.
That's all you got to do. And I listened to that Governor Santo. He was making fun of Newcomb over here and his lousy train system. He said, "Hell, we got a train here 10 years now. We never paid a cent for it." I said, "Well, we had the chance too not to pay for it with the German company, but no, they wanted to do it themselves so they could have their own corporation and make money." I mean, they were going to build a monorail within the city of Anaheim, but no, Anaheim didn't want a German company to do it. And all they asked was, "Let us run the company for 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
then we'll turn it over to you." What's wrong with that? Same with that bullet train. They was going to do the same thing. 10 years we operate it, and we give it to you.
What a beautiful place we could live in if it wasn't for all of that,
Greed.
If all of the greed.
Yeah, that's like the subway they did for L.A., 4 miles. They set up a CEO, made him a big paycheck.
Mhm.
What the hell? Limousine car to pick him up. What the heck for? It's crazy. It's just people just don't wake up. Like when I go to county commissioners meeting, if I don't forget, I take my little civil flag, pocket flag,
hmm
and I'll put it there and I'll hold it out. When they do the Pledge of Allegiance, I say, I pledge allegiance to my flag, not to the military,
I love that.
not to a corporation, a dictatorship. I don't support dictatorships.
Yeah.
And I don't want my kid or my grandkids saluting to that battle flag
Uh-huh.
in public schools. In fact, we need to redo the whole education. You heard of Moms for Liberty?
No.
I think it's Moms for Liberty out of Florida. And they were fed up with the school system. So they formed their own nonprofit organization. I said, didn't you guys pay attention to what I told you? I had talked to them. I said, you want to set it up as a common law private members association so you don't have to follow under the corporate realm. That's why you're in trouble. Well,
Mhm.
now they're in trouble because they have to go by what the corporation tells them. If they would have been out of it, they could have had their own schools, wouldn't have to listen to anything the United States corporate says. They could do it themselves. And that's the way all schools are. In fact, what we want to do, we're thinking about giving the county commissioners a termination notice.
Yeah.
And have the people of the county sign them on the back because they're not lawful.
hmm
Just get rid of them. And we want to set up, like they do back east, a common law trust county and for the town. And in fact, we have the right to set up constitutional constables. The sheriff is a corporation.
hmm
So that means they're not constitutional. And the other thing the Supreme Court says that makes them not constitutional is they don't take lawful money. They take legal Federal Reserve notes. It's corporate. Remember, legal's corporate, lawful's constitution and common law. So they don't take lawful money. So they're not constitutional. And in fact, if we're still under martial law, which I think we are, remember the sheriffs wear like stars on their collars,
hmm
like a general?
Yeah.
They're the charge of that military, paramilitary unit. That Sheriff's Department Corporation, their private corporate security force, is a paramilitary force under the International War Crimes. So if they touch a civilian, it's a war crime. And the International Tribunal can come over and get them.
Wow.
The United States can't stop that because they're signatory to that. And that's what I'm trying to tell this one woman that was used by them. Get your Mexican attorney who works with the FBI and get a complaint into the International War Crimes over there and Nuremberg and have them come over here with a arrest warrant with that European arrest, say Interpol, and arrest them.
hmm
Haul them off as war crimes. Put them on trial in America. They have no right to know what they're doing. And these dumb deputies, they're not trained properly. They're trained by a bunch of idiots in this Nye County. They're not sent off to the state to be trained or Metro. Even those guys don't know, but they're better training than what these guys do. We've offered, when Sharon Worley first came out here as sheriff, we offered to run training courses to teach these guys law.
Hmm.
Wouldn't have it. I said, we'll do it for free. You just make your officers come in and we'll teach them law so you don't have lawsuits. I mean, the county can't afford any more your lawsuits. You're going to have to give up all your land to these people. But actually, it's our land.
Yeah.
Not their land. So just like the BLM land, it's all ours. So in fact, when we finally get down and lay out district, because I don't want to have nothing to do with Clark County,
hmm
the Nevada Republic. They can stay where they want. But all the BLM land, minus the military, will be given to the Nevada Republic, all included. In fact, I'm working with the people in Eastern California.
hmm
They're fed up. So we took this flag, and we put Sierra Nevada and Republic on the bottom. And one's still a horse and the other one's a brown bear.
I like it.
Because they got
Yeah,
the bear.
the
So
bear.
they're going to be the Sierra Nevada Republic. And I tell them, Bishop on down here to Lone Pine, you guys can be your own republic. And you all have to join it. And you don't have to listen to nothing to California. You can have your own funding. You don't have to worry about what that Constitution says over. You can raise money. You can have international treaties with anybody you want. Like First thing I want to do, I want to have a bullet train down here up north.
I like it.
I don't care if the Chinese builds it; they're going to provide jobs.
Right.
They hired the
Yeah.
Americans, and they're going to operate it for so long that well, we don't have to kick out any money for it. So why?
Yeah.
And then
Could be life changing
the
for many
Germans-
people.
the Germans have nice ones. And there's nice ones out there. Japan has a nice bullet train. Why shouldn't we take advantage of this? We're basically a third world nation here,
Hmm.
poverty. And in fact, if you saw those deals about the South Africans that came over here, they're political.
Hmm.
They were homeless over there.
Yeah.
I told them, hey, welcome to the Nevada Republic. Come on over here. Any more of you people sitting farmers? I said, come over here. We'll make sure you have some nice farmland.
Hmm.
We'll set up farms. What the heck? So our land's being wasted, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know what they did in the Midwest, in the prairie area, with nothing being used? They seeded it with buffalo grass.
Really.
They plane came over and dropped all the seeds. We should do the same thing here. Seed this area. It'll come with the monsoon. And then cattle can graze, buffalo can graze, donkeys, horses. There'll be plenty of grazing grass.
The government owns like over a quarter of the land in the United States.
No, they don't own it. They're just the caretakers.
Well,
they think they do.
And there's also like 27 point something houses per homeless person that are abandoned.
Yeah.
So,
And they won't let people in these smaller lots over here build.
I just don't understand it. I mean, because I just don't understand that people will die for this country, and this country will be like, no.
I try to tell the veterans, I said, I got nothing against
kick
you.
them in the street.
If you want to go fight, it's fine. I can understand you think this is a country.
Yeah.
And you're going to fight for it, but it really ain't. They're lying to you.
Yeah.
They did a non-full disclosure on your enlistment contract. In fact, they probably put your name in all capital letters. So you as a human being have nothing to do with that contract. In fact, to prove my point, north end of town, south end of town, they'll have two signs, one on each side.
Hmm.
This highway is in honor of the veterans, American veterans, I believe it is. It's all capital letters. So they're not talking about the human beings.
Yeah.
They're talking about the corporate
corporation.
entity.
Yeah.
And if you go back and realize that that contract with the entity, you gave them the right to take out of your trust fund, because there's a big multi-million-dollar trust with that name. You allowed them to take money out of that trust to pay for a uniform, for food, for housing, whatever you needed in the military. You were paying for it. Probably even your pay was. In fact, that's why they want the human being to recognize, say, yes, that's your name, even though it's not.
Yeah.
Because you're giving them permission to go ahead and use that account. So what it does, your name goes into that bank over there at the court. They start taking money out of it. So they say, well, you owe this, and that. No, you don't. You already took the money. It's a moneymaker for them. They may not get it like you said, but they're getting the credit of it.
Hmm.
So that's all it is. Everything's credit. It's a joke. So if we just understand the real system, how it's a fraudulent system to begin with, we wouldn't have this problem. People just rise up.
Right.
I mean, our law department, he went to law school. He didn't like the Bar Association, so he refused to take the bar. I don't blame him. There's been a lot of people I've come across. So
Yeah.
he was a paralegal. He's one of the highest paid paralegals in the Bay Area. In fact, he even got the mayor of San Jose to resign. And when he was in the military, he was an MP, and then he transferred over to the JAG Corps. So he worked in JAG for a long time. And he has high clearance. And in fact, they've tried to get a clearance check on him. Couldn't do it. And when he was in California, he worked with 3 different sheriff's departments as a legal aid type of deal. I mean, on the civilian board.
Hmm.
So he was there to review the incidents and all that. So he has different sheriff department clearances too. So they're a little worried about him. Well, I'd be a little worried about what he knows.
Yeah.
So we got some Native American judges that are coming on board, helping us out. Some of the cases.
Mhm.
So we was hoping to get Elon Musk come on board. We're still trying to negotiate with him. But the thing is, he moved everything to north of Austin, Texas. He's got that one little plant up there, but his offices are now over in Austin. So I figured because he started here, he'd help us come in and bail out Nevada.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to happen or not. So keep wanting to give me a Tesla. I don't want a Tesla. I want to talk to Elon. But if you want to come out with some money, okay, our group could use some funding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be happy. But no, I don't need a Tesla. So anyway, I got a finger from Frank.
Okay.
And usually that means we got a minute. Anything you want to say in the last minute? Anything I've been cutting you off of and saying?
Oh, no, it's all good.
Okay.
I've enjoyed my time.
So
Thank
I
you.
want to thank Courtney for coming in and sharing what she's learning. You want to read that stuff?
Yeah, I'll read
Okay.
that.
I think I got more.
Okay.
And you're welcome to come back anytime you want.
All right.
I have a hard time getting people to come in and put their face in front of the camera. They get scared of the radio for some reason.
No,
And
I'm not
I've
worried
been
about
doing
that.
this for a few years now. So I'm getting used to it. And Frankie says, well, you lowered your voice or you had a dead time in there. Well, wait a minute. You're not paying me. I'm paying you. Those other professionals, I see them mess up all the time, and they're getting big salaries.
Mhm.
So I said, shouldn't complain about it. So this is Gary Wayne, your teacher and your host, with my guest, Courtney. Oh, almost like Courtney Love.
Well, actually, my name on Facebook is Courtney B. Love.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So anyway, we want to thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. And remember, if you ever want to get in on this show, but we talk too much, I forgot to tell you, but we have a phone number, 775-990-4900. You watch the video on 98.1 FM, KPFB. You'll be able to watch this video and other shows. Or if you have a question, put it on the comments under our show, and I'll write it down, and I'll try to have the answer for you on the next show. So, once again, thank you for joining us. Have a very good July 4th. Hopefully it won't be hot. But remember, there's no reason to be celebrating because we're in a different form of slavery. We're not free as you think you are. In fact, I was going to talk about Roosevelt, the truth about Roosevelt, but we'll do that another time. In fact, people don't know he was convicted as a war criminal.
Don't forget to celebrate your patriotism with those Chinese fireworks.
Oh, there are no American firework companies?
I don't think there are. Sorry.
Anyway, it scares my dogs. I'll watch the freebies in the backyard. So, thank you once again, and we'll see you next Tuesday, which will be what? 4th, 5th, 6th, I think the 8th. July 8th, I believe it is. At 6 o'clock on this station. Thank you. Have a nice weekend. Bye. Oh, God we trust. Bye.
I think these videos are brilliant, and I'm sure you will like them too. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to click the notification bell.